Godzilla has faced off with the Justice League in the DC universe. But what if we transported him into a different universe with different heroes and different morals? What if we placed Godzilla into the One Punch Man universe? How would he fare? Would he dominate? Would he get crushed? We're going to be using MonsterVerse Godzilla because, well, he's obviously the attention whore. We're going to be using him at his full power, but we're going to give him like all of his abilities from GVK, even though he isn't at full strength. We're going to be going through various One Punch Man tiers of power in order to determine where Godzilla would stop, his best opponents, etc. Because of this, and because I've covered Godzilla before, I'll start with his opposition. In this universe, there are various heroes and monsters. These are listed on a general scale of threat, determined by a number of factors, but included among them are things like speed, power, and durability. The disaster scale includes wolf levels, which are, just like gangs or whatever. Tiger level threats, which are threats to a large number of people, and have feats such as like destroying city blocks and such. Demon levels, which are able to destroy or ruin entire cities. Dragons, who are able to destroy whole cities if not multiple cities. And god level threats, which are threats to the entirety of humanity. Given context from the series though, it's quite likely that god level threats are at least planet busters. I don't think I have to tell anybody that there's no wolf or tiger level threat. None of them really matter to him at all. So we're skipping straight to demons, because unless they're building a Mechagodzilla or something, there's no reason for Godzilla to waste his time on weaklings. They can disperse large clouds, destroying towns, generating possibly up to city level scaling for demon level monsters. And their speed should consistently be massively hypersonic ranges of speed, with some specific speedsters having much higher arguments, but that's not the norm. To counter this, all I really need to do is just post the very consistently shown feat of Godzilla no-selling Castle Bravo to the face, a 15 megaton nuclear weapon, as well as the statement that all nuclear weapons ever were made in order to kill Godzilla, which includes the 52 megaton Star Bomba, and the fact that the MonsterVerse nukes have only gotten more powerful over time, and Godzilla's still able to resist them. There is a great demon/dragon named Beefcake who dwarfs Godzilla in size. However, his scaling is kind of strange. He lacks any good speed feats. After a barrage of mighty punches, he was able to generate an island-level crater in the ground. Impressive, but compared to Godzilla, it's really nothing. Size may be the only thing, but this is not an issue, really. Godzilla's atomic breath is consistently covered many times his own body length, not even including the core blast. So I think it's safe to move on from demons, since they really, at best, would maybe minorly annoy him and then get killed instantly. Dragon-level monsters are all capable of destroying entire One Punch Man cities. Large cities, like City A and Z, are hundreds of kilometers across. A good dragon level to start off with is the Meteor. Its threat level would literally just come from destructive output. This Meteor was stated able to destroy City Z and damage other cities. Low-end calculations get it to about large island level. The maximum it could be all the way up to continental. This is interesting because in his younger day, Godzilla was able to no-sell a similar meteor, stated to again be similar to the one that wiped out the dinosaurs, while battling the Shinomura. As such, scaling Godzilla to at least continental is pretty consistent. He also scales to King Ghidorah, a being whose very existence can spawn a Category 6 Hypercane so large it covers the entirety of Brazil on screen. Such a feat is easily large country level in itself, not to mention with kinetic energy it would get significantly higher, and I'll get to that in a bit. Since most dragon levels, like the Meteor, lack the destructive force in order to battle Godzilla, could they possibly make up for the gap in power with, say, their speed and abilities? However, there is a problem. Godzilla has battled such things before on a much larger scale, with more powerful opponents and more comparable to himself. Because of that, it seems unlikely that really any dragon level threat could significantly affect him. Maybe if they attempted to target his gills, which have been affected by lower levels of weaponry, they could maybe piss him off. But then after that, it would be kind of unfortunate. However, as for speed, by the time we get to dragon level, many characters have relativistic to possibly lightspeed and beyond levels of scaling, with things such as lasers being dodged and reacted to, statements of lightspeed being brought up, etc. Moving up from dragon levels, we have the quote-unquote dragons or above. These are beings like Orochi, who was One Punch Man's own monster king, until he was killed at least. While I could explain why Godzilla would tear Orochi limb from limb, I've already done this with my friend Christian Kember on his channel, and I posted the video on my own as well. Essentially, Orochi's scaling is only bound to the meteor, whereas Godzilla, as already stated, scales much higher than that. His speed only has like light speed scaling, if not slightly above, but given the gap in their power, it wouldn't really help him at all. He would just get murdered by Godzilla pretty quickly. His trump card, the Gaia Cannon, has consistent calculations from multi-continental to possibly small planet if you are extremely generous. The problem is, not only would Godzilla not allow Orochi to use the Gaia Cannon, but even if he did, you could easily get Godzilla to that same level of power, if not higher. I would also argue that such calculations for Orochi are inconsistent and illogical, considering his much stronger fusion, per his own words, was only able to generate an ocean-cutting blast, and specifically stated that they were inferior to the Earth, and that would be their ultimate divine evolution. Thus, planet-level Orochi is narratively inconsistent, and the feats do not support such from a more powerful character. And if you were to use that sort of scaling anyway, one could easily just crack open GVK's novelization. And the core blast here is even more powerful than it is in the film, due to the fact Godzilla's radioactive breath is stated specifically to affect things on the quantum scale. Because of this, the output of the attack is small planet level, and that's after literally beam clashing a gravitational swell that is so powerful it distorts space and time, and has been likened to driving a car through a black hole. All that too, while holding back. So Orochi's Gaia Cannon would be quickly overwhelmed by Godzilla's own atomic breath, nor would he even get the chance to even use the attack. Hey, so I had to delete a lot of what I had before, because new things have made it incredibly out of date. The Monsterverse has gotten some pretty big upgrades as of late. Just one small portal, barely bigger than Godzilla himself, generated 15 petatons, or multi-continental levels of energy. Now imagine that compared to the entire planet core of the ecosystem. That's relevant because, again, the monsters eat here, and Godzilla himself is directly stated to have energy levels comparable to Hollow Earth.
His energy signal is enormous.
And almost identical to readings from Gojira.
Scaling up for the full thing, this actually gets the Hollow Earth to a low end of planetary, about 6 times more powerful than needed to actually blow up our real Earth, all the way up to dwarf star level. The low end already seems consistent, considering, weakened holding back Godzilla had a small planet feat. Some have also used the nucleosynthesis that's been consistently stated for how the atomic breath works, and even Versus Battle Wiki got that all the way up to planet level. More consistent, it's stated in the official statistics the difference between the proton scream and holding back atomic breath from Godzilla, so we can compare it to the feat, blasting to the core. Reason is, Apex was perfectly aware he could do that, and still posted those stats on the two. That means the gap between them would get the feat all the way up to large planet level for Mechagodzilla. We know that Godzilla could have overpowered Mechagodzilla at the very least if he was at full power. Also, Hollow Earth is stated to generate immense gamma ray energies identical to the yields of supermassive black holes. That's important because, well, when a black hole shoots out a beam of gamma rays, That's what a gamma ray burst is. We also know that Godzilla himself generates this insane amount of gamma radiation, considering it's stated by author Greg Keyes, who worked on 4 Monsterverse books up to this point, and is even willing to do interviews regarding things like canon, has directly said that out of all the natural phenomena in the physical universe, Godzilla's atomic breath is the strongest. And considering that same statement, he referred to blue stars. At the very least, we can say that it works like a mini gamma ray burst. Scaling it down to the size of Godzilla's atomic breath, that would mean that the beam, large planet level as well. Very high into it though, that at its full power, it would be dwarf star level. So why is that all important? Well, that's all important because I was going to say that multi-continental fellows like Fuse Psychos, Tatsumaki, Sage Centipede, and Evil Natural Ocean could have given Godzilla a pretty hard fight initially. But now they're getting destroyed really bad. If you don't believe that, then there's statements that Kong, Godzilla, Ghidorah, and Shimu, the new monster, can destroy the planet. If someone like Kong, who's considered basically a chew toy, can be scaled that high, yeah, that's kind of GG. This means that even with their things like speed and hacks, but the Monster King can fight back, of course, with his own ranged attacks, and as we know via current information, One Punch Man characters have a very, very bad resistance to radiation, with the presence of someone like Cosmic Garo completely killing everyone around him. While we know that Monsterverse radiation is more beneficial for their planet was naturally 10 times more radioactive than it was today, enough to support creatures literally the size of buildings sustaining themselves on nuclear radiation. And we know that the Monsterverse planet core is literally just a giant ball of radiation. We know that humans also came from the Hollow Earth, so it's not an anti-feat that beings like people and creatures are literally able to survive near Godzilla's fights. Even someone like Boros, who you can scale anywhere from normal light speed to massively faster than light, his physical feats are like multi-continental, and he's only planet level with his suicide laser beam. So with the new updated higher end stuff for Godzilla, even that wouldn't really hurt much. Shouldn't hurt any worse than like traveling to Hollow Earth, which he seems to do just fine. Anyone higher than Boros though, and things get tricky. Of course, if you take the statements at face value, then you can get Godzilla all the way up to solar system level, even in his base form. The problem is, I don't think that's legitimate or honest. And if we want to be dishonest with One Punch Man, a lot of people directly scale people like Blast, Saitama, and Garo to the series Punch Squared, which, again, since we're being dishonest now, people think deleted planets, stars, and galaxies even. That's just a level of power that the Monsterverse really can't do anything to. Except unless, you count the DC crossover and that one statement that the Superman he ratioed was as strong as the main Superman. But again, that's just being dishonest as fuck. So does he solo? Sadly, no. I think it's pretty damn far. Huge shout out to Professor Fiction for helping me out a bit on the One Punch Man research. Eventually he's going to cover Godzilla vs. Garo, probably sometime closer to New Empire itself. So stay tuned for that. And also my buddy Tyler, and kind of inspired the idea. So anyway, that's all for this one. See y'all next time.